All right, welcome everybody. This is episode 2 of our coaches interview. Today we have Cody Ellis with us. Cody is the head coach at University of North Carolina, Greensboro. UNCG is a D1 located in Greensboro, North Carolina in the Southern Conference. So, Cody, thank you for being with us today.
No, I appreciate you having me on.
Awesome. So, get started if you don't mind. Kind of telling our guys, how you got into the game. Where did it start for you, and then how did you lead up to where you are today?
Yeah, kind of a little different route than a lot of people as far as getting into Division I baseball. I know for me, didn't really have a ton of looks out of high school. So I had two junior colleges that were interested in me. And so I went to Patrick Henry Community College out of high school. Played 2 years. And I know a lot of people, when they talk about college, it's, talk about the experience. And my experience was awesome because I went to a place where I could play, I could develop. I played every single game when I was there. I started every game but one. And had the opportunity to obviously grow, to play, to get better, but also too to put up numbers. And from there, got a Division I scholarship to Norfolk State, and they were in the MEAC at the time, and so I played there in 13 and 14, and two of the best years just because I had some adversity, but I had one of the best coaches in my entire life, and Wiley Lee, and it really just changed kind of who I was. And I like to think that my coaching style is a little bit like him. And so played 2 years there. And then I stayed after 1 year as a student assistant. Played 2 years of indie ball out in the Pecos League, and then realized that I probably need to start looking at a career. And so my next stopping point, I went back to Patrick Henry as a volunteer. So I lived about an hour and 15 minutes away. So I made the commute up there every single day. I worked for a job. I had a job at a car dealership, made $9 an hour, so paid for my gas back and forth. So I was a volunteer up there for a year, and then I was a grad assistant at University of Lynchburg for 2 years, and up there with Lucas Jones, who kind of all comes full circle because he was the head coach at Patrick Henry after I had left. Um, so I was there, and then I was able to go back to Patrick Henry to be the head coach for 3 years. Did a lot of good things there. Went to the NJCA World Series in year two, went 43 and 17, I believe. We moved countless guys on to Division I programs, Division II programs, and D3. So just really good. And then uh, certainly looking to get into Division I baseball, and UNCG had an opening, and I gave Billy a call, and he got me on for an interview. And so I was assistant coach last year, and then he left in December, and found myself as the head coach after a year and a half. So.
Awesome, awesome. So to start, not necessarily a question, but a good point you make is a lot of kids nowadays, it's kind of, Power Five or bust. I want to go to the biggest school possible, but kind of what you're saying is you went to a place you could play. And that's a big deal now with kids is they need to understand that, it's great, to go to a North Carolina, Clemson, South Carolina, but if you're not playing, you're not developing yourself. So find the school that best fits you and go to a place you can play, and then maybe you have a chance after that to end up doing the dream that you want to do is play Division I baseball. So that was a good point you made there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's funny is I had the same conversation with my guys when I was a head coach at junior college. Was certainly you want to look at offer wise what's going to benefit you more financially, socially, academically. But at the end of the day, like when you play 2 years of junior college, it's going somewhere where you can play. And that was my conversation with them. Like, are you going to be happy there if you don't play? And so, like, what's your real reason for wanting to go there? But I think the biggest thing that people lose sight of is that it's all about kind of what they can post, and everyone's going to forget about it in a couple of days, but you're going to be there for 4 years, whatever it is. So it needs to be a good decision.
Yeah, good point. So first question I got for you is as you're, starting out being the head coach now this year, like when you go out recruiting, what's the type of player that fits your mold? Like when you think of your guys, what are you looking for in players?
I think the biggest thing, we talk recruiting all the time, and I know, especially for me, is we want baseball players. Like certainly having all the tools. Can they throw hard? Can they hit balls far for power? Can hit for average? Like all those things are great, but guys that can just play baseball. And I know from the pitching side of things, Coach Manus, who played 5 years in the big leagues, we don't get caught up in velo, like we want guys that can pitch. And so we're probably a little bit different in how we want to do things, but really we just want really good baseball players that have an extreme high work ethic, that are elite competitors, which we talk about. How do you find those guys, and what are some different things that we're looking for? But Those are the types of players that we want, in our program to be able to mold. And so if we think we can get them better and they already have those characteristics, then we're going to be in a really good shape.
Yeah, so like when you go to a game, so that's a great point. I try to get it across to our guys, like be good baseball players, be winning baseball players. So for you, what are some like, things you look at during a game that might not necessarily show up in a box score, but are going to catch your, catch your eye and somebody you might highlight on your list? Like, so what are some things you see?
I know especially when we've got a guy highlighted and we want to go see him, like we're looking at everything. I know, looking at his preparation, in the infield when, between innings, a lot of things we look at as instincts. So, is he, when he's in different counts, how is he, dirt ball reads, stealing bases, what's his bunt game like? How is his instincts, balls off the bat on the infield, balls off the bat in the outfield, which is even more important because some of my best outfielders haven't been the fastest, but they've got the best jumps. And so when we talk about baseball players, like those are the certain things that, and the intangibles that for us that we're looking for. And can we work with that?
Well, so, and then on the other side is like analytics wise and, data. I mean, in such a world that's driven by numbers, what are some things you might be looking for, not, in total, but when you're looking at a radar gun or a stopwatch, like what are some numbers that you kind of are looking at to fit maybe, let's say, position wise?
Yeah, I think definitely position wise. I think the 60 time is a great way to measure athleticism and to see what, different guys can do because we feel like we do a good job on the base running side. So if they have the raw speed, then we feel like we can, enhance that even more by just with our jumps and some different things that we do. And from the radar gun, it's the same thing as like, how does it work though? Like, is it max effort? What's the spin rate like? I know I'm a big spin guy just because I like to just kind of see what it's doing. I like to take it back to Coach Manus, and some of those things that we talk about is the guys that come in that we're recruiting, they got to be able to spin a breaking ball and they got to be able to throw it for strikes. So as much as the spin rate is good and the velo and all that stuff, but can they pitch with it?
Awesome. So when you're looking at like good baseball players, obviously there's another half of it. It's off the field stuff. And for you guys, like how much of an importance do you put on like the classroom?
Yeah, that's one thing that we really don't want to have to spend a ton of time on as far as when we're recruiting guys, like they certainly want to be good in the classroom. We don't want that to be a hindrance when they get here. Certainly we're going to help them. We're going to have study hall hours in place as a freshman. We're going to try to give them good opportunities to be able to create good time management skills. But at the end of the day, the guys got to take care of business in high school. If they can't do it in high school, it's going to be very difficult for them to do it in college. So I think having those traits and characteristics to be able to translate evenly, as soon as they get into college is going to be, very helpful. But academics is a huge part for us. And also too, it helps them out, scholarship wise.
Yeah.
Just make that even cheaper for them.
Yeah. Are there, so for you guys, we like to ask the different schools, like, are there exact numbers that you probably need to be at GPA wise, test score wise? It's going to basically, that you need this to get in, or is it kind of, open? How does it work with you guys?
I would say it's pretty open. I think we do have a basement as far as where they got to be at. But I think it's pretty, 2.6, 2.7. But certainly we want guys that are going to be above that because if you can't handle business in high school, it's going to, like I said, it's going to be very difficult to do that when you get to college.
Yeah. So, getting away a little bit from that as well, too. It's like now, um, kids are real big with the emails. It's all about emailing coaches. So for you, like when you see an email, what are you looking for? Like what's going to make you read the email? What's going to make you watch the video as opposed to, maybe skipping over one?
Yeah, I know for me, I love when it's personalized. So when it's usually sent to one person, if not, then usually our recruiting coordinator is going to handle it if it's to all of us. But if it's personalized in a way to where it certainly is to myself or to the staff, but also they take some pride in in the program. And like I know a couple guys have sent us text or sent us emails about, hey, saw the big win against Wake Forest, great job. Seems like somewhere I'd be interested in, or some things like that. There's like, okay, well, they've done at least a little bit of homework. They got the name right. They follow the program a little bit. And then, certainly the video, I love watching videos. So, and just the shorter the better. Like, I don't want to see anything that's going to be 5 minutes long because I'm not going to do that. But definitely, 5 or 6 videos or, some game swings, whatever it is, just to be able to really tell us, is this somebody we want to, follow up with, or is this going to be a no? But at the end of the day, certainly guys that we usually we want to follow up with.
Yeah. And when you say video, like with your game slash practice, like, do you want more game video as opposed to necessarily, being in a cage, throwing a bullpen, kind of that kind of thing? Or what's the happy medium for you?
I'm sure everybody's kind of different. I know for me, I don't mind. I like both. And the reason I like both is because the game is kind of hard sometimes because the camera angles aren't great. Sometimes they're a little far away, but certainly you can see like what they do. If they hit a home run, they start jogging. Like obviously you know that they hit a home run, but I like side view of the pitchers, like side view of the hitters. I like in front, just some different things that we can look at because you don't have anything. You're not there in person. But to be able to kind of see like, does it work? Does it get into his lower half? Where's he at foot strikes? Some different things that we can look at. And then certainly having a radar gun, in there on some videos from the pitching side, just obviously just let us know this it's legit and we're not just saying I'm
Yeah.
throwing, whatever it is.
Yeah. So when you're going, so now let's say a kid sends you an email and you like what you see. It's a guy you highlight, right? What are you guys' next step? What do you guys typically do after that?
Usually we're going to invite them to camp if we're interested in them. I know for us, everyone's recruiting budget is a little bit different. Ours is, certainly that. It's a little bit different. So we don't always get to be able to go out and see everyone that we want to see. So I know a lot of our guys, probably over half the guys on roster have came to camp. Now that doesn't mean they weren't identified earlier and that we've seen them earlier or, whatever the case may be, but probably half our guys were identified at camp. That we brought in the freshman in our freshman classes. But we're going to send a follow-up email to camp, and also we're going to ask for your schedule. We're going to ask for the high schools coach, travel ball coach, whatever it is. So we want to reach out. So we want to check off the makeup box. We want to check off the character box because everyone sends that they're the hardest worker and they're this and this. But usually they're you talk to a couple coaches, guys that've been around for a while. They're going to be really honest and some guys that we trust and so that's kind of the next step after that.
Yeah. So you guys talking about you're trusting the coaches, like how important is it to have, let's say from a travel ball side, like how important is it if you guys have a good relationship with their coaches and the people that run their organization? How important is that for you when looking at a potential kid?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important because the baseball community is such a small community. And so you just you have success in certain, honey holes and you just want to keep dipping back in there and, getting guys from that program because you know what you got before and, they do it the right way. They're trained. They play the game right. They take care of their business. And so, having guys you can trust is huge in this game because you're not going to, from a recruiting standpoint, we're not going to be going in a ton of different directions when, Max Starbuck tells us we need to be here on a certain day. We need to see this kid. Then that's where we're going to be at. And we're not going to have 10 different people telling us, different things. And from that standpoint. So I don't know if that makes
Yeah.
sense or not, but
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I'm trying to teach the kids that, people in your corner, it's a big deal when you have the right people in your corner. It can help you in this process of this crazy world of college recruiting now with the portal and social media. And, it's not even the same as, I got recruited in 2018. It's not even close to the same. And that wasn't even that long ago. So, but leading back to camp for you guys, like how important is it for a potential guy for you guys to get to one of your on campus camps?
I would say it's incredibly important just because we're able to be with you usually for 2 full days. We're able to talk to you. We're able to coach you, during our individual session. We're able to hit with you. We're able to take, 20, 30 swings. We're able to talk with you. And I think what gets lost in camps is people think it's a money driven thing. And I get that part of it, but being able for the coaches to spend that time with you is valuable from their standpoint recruiting. But I also think that players get, um, I think it gets construed a little bit, but it's that much more important for the players. Like, could you see yourself being there every single day? Could you see does your personality match with the coach's personality? And so, do you like the way that he coaches? Because I know for us at our camps, we're the same exact way to those campers and the guys that come to camp than we are with our players. And so, when guys come there and they feel like, man, I freaking love it, then it's the right fit. Or if you come there and you're like, it really doesn't go with my style, then it's not a right fit. But I think it's twofold. I don't think it's just one way or the other. I think it's both. It's great for both parties.
Yeah, and I think you make a great point with the player wise. It's one thing to say that you want to go to a place, but to truly get on campus and get onto the field and be with the coaches, you start to realize like, I don't know if this is the place for me, or or it brings you back to like this is definitely the place for me. So I think that getting out to camps is a great way to put yourself in the shoes of like if you were here, do you think this is the right fit for you? So um leading off of that, we kind of go back to the winning player thing we talked about. Like, how much when you're watching a kid play, does like team success play in how you're looking at or recruiting a player?
I would say for me, it it's probably it's very high. Winners win, and I don't know how to explain it, but guys that they just know how to win, they've been in winning programs, they come to your program, they expect to win. And when you bring a lot of players in now certainly some outliers, the guys that don't play on good high school teams or good travel ball teams that can be very very good, but I think it's something about having players that know how to win, that have been in those situations at the breaking point. Like, what can you do to help us win? But I think it's incredibly important. So I know I was at Patrick Henry, and even now, like guys that played on state championship teams, like I think there's something to that. I think it's something to, hitting the middle lineup or hitting at the top of the lineup or, being a back end guy for, a championship team. And summer ball is the same way with some of those guys that go deep. For me, I think it's invaluable to have that.
Yeah. So I mean, a big point I'd like to make to a lot of our guys is, you know, it doesn't mean that you need to hit 3 home runs in a game to be a winning player. Like how today can you add value to your team? Is it putting down a bunt? Is it making a play on defense? Is it running the ball hard? Doing different things like that are going to catch some guys' attention more so than maybe just because you had a couple hits. Like I know, and this is something kind of like what you're kind of saying is like I remember a coach walked up to me this past summer. Is like, gosh, I love the way he ran out the pop up he hit to the infield. It's like kids don't think that you guys are watching that stuff, but in reality, you might even be putting more value on stuff like that than necessarily if he had a couple hits or not that game.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to play hard when you have success. I think it's harder for guys nowadays to not, especially when they don't think someone's watching or anything like that. But like we talk about it in our program, winning plays, and I think that is a winning play. Because you're never counted out. Certainly we're going to play the game the right way. We're going to play hard. So I love that.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about position players and stuff, and we'll talk a little bit about pitchers now. It's like when you're looking at a guy, let's say you're seeing him in person, seeing the metrics, like what are some numbers and things you're going to look for in a pitcher that's going to kind of catch your eye?
Uh, Certainly, I mean, we don't really recruit off the radar gun, but I mean, there's something to having some velocity. So would like to kind of be around that, 87, 89, 90 range. As far as we're talking about incoming freshmen, right now we're in the 25 class. So, or projectability. So a lot of that is going to play into effect. But once again, I think for us, it's just different because like those numbers are great, but do they know how to pitch? Like, can they throw two pitches for strikes? They have two all-speed pitches for strikes, and that makes them three now. So, that's the biggest thing that we talk about when we talk about recruiting, because at the end of the day, like we got to get outs. And I think for us, obviously, the more stuff, then the more opportunities we're going to be able to miss in the zone. So I think that's where the projectability, comes in. But I'd be crazy to say we're sitting here looking at the 93, 95 guy because we're just not. Even from a junior college standpoint, bringing in junior college guys, like they're going to be right there, that 89, 91 range, and they're going to have 2 to 3 pitches for strikes.
Yeah. So when into another part of it, we kind of say we're talking about the failure part of it as well. It's like how much for you does the mental toughness aspect play in when you're going to watch a kid? Like, what are you looking for? Like when he does fail, like what are some things you're trying to see? How does he react to it?
Yeah, I think exactly what you just said. We're just looking at how he handles it. And, are they a powder? Do they slam their stuff? Because, that doesn't work well with me and my personality. I just want to be very professional. But also don't act like it doesn't matter. Like, sit there and make a couple errors and then we're laughing and joking around. Like, it's got to mean a little something to you, but we gotta handle our emotions, in the right way. And I think for, we talk about it in the coach's office all the time. I think that's the hardest thing because sometimes you can get tricked. But I think the more you get to see players, that's why we try to get out to see guys multiple times, 3, 4, 5 times, even more following up with them. And that's why it's important to trust coaches like yourself, is to be able to know who they are. And the mental toughness side, I think, is the most difficult thing to identify and to evaluate from our side, and as far as knowing what we're getting. But
Yeah,
it's extremely important.
yeah. I mean, that's the reason I asked that question is because a lot of kids today don't really understand how hard college baseball is, and they don't because when you're in high school, a lot of those guys are the best players on their team. They don't really know what true failure is until that freshman fall. You get there and you're playing against all the other best players, and so it's a big part. I try to tell the kids, it's like, I know you're having success, but like, learn how to deal with things, learn how to deal with failure, because when you get to college, it's a completely different game. You're playing against grown men, especially now with how the portal is. And,
Oh
we
yeah.
got 25-year-olds with COVID years. Like you're playing against grown men. So kind of getting away from the recruiting side now, let's kind of look at more of the now I'm in school. Now I'm at UNCG. What's some stuff like I need to look forward to once I, step foot on campus?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing when you get on campus is going to be, finding your way and finding what's going to work for you. And I think everyone is a little bit different, especially when they first get on campus, because you got some freshmen that are just all in from the get go and they're just wide open and ton of energy and, work ethic aside. We've got some guys that kind of like, sneaking in, sneaking into the cage a little bit, later or a little bit earlier. And some people aren't around, but I just think just finding your way and finding what works for you. I think, having a routine is huge. And I think when freshmen get in there is certainly a lot of their time is going to be taken up in the weight room. Certainly we're in skill work when we first get there, and then we get in our team practice. So it's a lot being thrown at them at one time. But I think the earlier they can find a routine that's going to get them prepared for that day, because so one thing that we talk about is you need to be ready for practice. So you need to do whatever you need to do, whether it's your early work, it's your tee work, it's your frontals. You want to get some, big hack breaking balls. You want to get some your layups in. We talked about with our glove work on the infield or some machine work in the outfield. Like that is your preparation because your game that day is practice. So I think the earlier they can find a routine that's going to get them ready to perform for that particular day, I think they're going to be in a really good place.
Yeah. And another eye opener we talk about, you just mentioned, is the weight room. Like, how important is the weight room for you guys once they get to college?
Yeah, I think it's a separator, and we started last year. We tried to get some of our freshmen on campus a little bit earlier, trying to take some summer classes just to get them into it early, because that's what we've in the last year, and even this year too. We found just guys are real tired just because they're not used to not only the weight room program, but it's also the other part of it. It's it's the school side, it's the baseball side, which is wide open. So. I think just getting through that, getting through the morning workouts and, time management's a huge thing. Got to go to bed at night, got to put your phone up, got to do those sorts of things. But, I don't think we can put enough emphasis in the weight room from a freshman standpoint, just from a strength side. And as you talked about with the portal, they're grown men. Like, most of the rosters are going to be veteran rosters. So the more you can, develop and the more you can have, be a little more physical, then the better off you're going to be able to compete for a spot, early on in your career.
Yeah. So let's talk about that freshman kind of thing. Like, let's can you talk about your typical schedule? Let's talk about fall ball. We'll stay away from, in season. Let's talk about in the fall. Like, what would be my typical schedule? I'd show up to UNCG. It's my first day. We got practice day. What would our schedule kind of look like for those days?
Yeah, so we're gonna lift 4 days a week. We're gonna go Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and those are in the afternoon. Those will be after the skill work for the day, and then Friday we'll have a morning team lift at 6 a.m. And so we'll have skill work 5 days a week for 45 minutes, and we'll have time. A lot of time we like to have the field open. So when we do our skill groups, we'll have 4 or 5 groups in a day, but we like to have the field open so they can do their own thing too. So we're going to be with them for 45 minutes, but they can also spend another 45 minutes to an hour to do what they want to do. So if we're doing offense for that particular day in the cages, they can go out on the field for 45 minutes where it's going to be wide open with just, infielders or just outfielders, and they can get some defensive work in. And we'll do that for, probably 5 or 6 weeks. And then we'll get into our team practice, which we're going to go 5 days a week. And we're going to play a lot of games. We're not going to spend a ton of time at practice. We're going to get after the inter squads. And then on those days, we will lift Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 6 a.m. So we'll have 3 days a week there. And then once our team practice ends, so we got a 45-day window, it'll end. We'll just kind of break down what we need to get better at, where some of your weaknesses are that we're going to hone in. We'll have an individual plan, and then we'll go back to 4 days a week in the weight room as far as the kind of finishing up, getting ready for testing, and hopefully we make some big gains in the fall.
Yeah. So my final thing I always finish these interviews with is, what's one piece of advice you could give a high school kid right now if you were talking to him?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would just, I think the work ethic just has to be relentless. Like, I don't think anybody can take that from you. And your goal should be the hardest work on every single team that you should be on or that you're going to be on. And that's one thing that's going to be a huge separator that we see every single year is that, you think everybody in college has these extremely high work ethics and they don't. Some people do the same thing that people do in high school, and they're just more talented. So you can outwork people. And so that's my biggest thing is to play fearless and just to outwork people every single day. Like you have an opportunity every single day that you wake up to win the day or to lose the day. And that's up to you. It doesn't matter what happens, in your life for that particular day, but you have a decision to make. And so in order to win the day, man, you got to outwork everybody. So that would be my one piece of advice.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on here and answer some questions.
No, I appreciate you having me, and certainly got a ton of love for your family, so and what you do. So I appreciate all you do for the game of baseball, and looking forward to following up with you.
Thank you. All right. Well, TTS guys, be on the lookout for UNCG this summer as we're going to be North Carolina, and then be on the lookout for Cody probably throwing BP again at the old Elon event. So, well, thank you, and we'll be back next Monday with episode 3.